very much looking forward to this conversation now on tools that build trust, together with three fantastic experts that we have invited to you, whom I would like to introduce to you now. In this conversation, I would like to welcome Ali Azmi, who is the founder of the Kind of Blau studio and also the co-founder of Drip by Drip. In September 2017, Ali traveled to Bangladesh to get a better understanding of the water crisis there and the linkages to our fashion consumption globally. His findings inspired the founding of Drip by Drip, which is an NGO that is committed to tackling the water issues caused by the fashion and textile industry. Welcome, Ali.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for making time to be with us. I would also like to welcome Jess Fleischer. According to Jess, he founded Son of a Tailor not because he was in love with fashion or because of the vast opportunities, but because of the vast opportunities to improve the fashion for everyone involved, the customers, the garment workers, and of course, the planet. So instead of coming from a fashion background, Jess brings 10 years of experience working in supply chain, in lean manufacturing at companies like eBay and consulting firms like Booz & Co. He has driven the Son of a Tailor's unique approach to a low-waste production model, which we're very much looking forward to learning more about today. Welcome, Jess.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. Thank you so much for being with us as well. And I would also like to give a warm welcome to Larissa Roviezzo, who is a sustainability specialist at Regenerate Fashion and works at developing projects, strategies, and trainings in sustainable practices for brands, retailers, and textile companies. She was recently responsible for establishing the Brazilian Sustainable Fashion League for the Brazilian Textile Industry Association, and she's also the co-author of the report Fashion Threads, Systemic Perspectives for Circularity, founded by Lord's Foundation. Thanks so much for being here with us today, Larissa.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
So the last conversation really zoomed in deep on the data issue, and I thought we'd begin by just a quick brainstorming on this panel. What are the tools that build trust? If we're asking that question, what kind of categories are we speaking in here, looking at the fashion industry and its different stakeholders? So I would guess, data is one of them, and perhaps certification. What are the other key factors that come to your mind when you think about tools that build trust? Larissa, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, impact. So data around impact, I think, is one of the biggest thing. And when we speak about sustainability in the fashion industry, the raw material part of the industry it's very complicated in terms of impact. So I would say that it's a huge part of the conversation. So having consumers also on top of this conversation, how we enable transparency, how we make them trust in us as companies.
Yeah, thank you. So these value-based approaches as well, and seeing how we can see empowering different stakeholders as part of an endeavor to build trust. Thank you. Ali, would you have other factors that you think matter, other categories?
So I think data is very important, especially for an NGO and the NGO work, also the impact to measure all these steps. But I guess one very, very important point was for us, for example, storytelling. So how do you start from scratch? How do you explain what you're doing? So in order to be, the word is often used, authentic and transparent, I guess you have to also tell a compelling story and also to live that story. And for us, it was very important to go there to see what's happening on the field, what's happening, for example, in Bangladesh, and also show the people what is happening there. So I think storytelling and the more emotional part of it, the human part of it, what I like the most about the projects that we are doing is very important. Not only the data is very important, of course, to measure and to find better solutions. But as we all know, we're all humans and we need this deep connectivity in those things we are doing. And I think that one is very, very important for us.
Yeah, thank you. That makes so much sense. And I also think the correlation is a really important one, because what do you do with all that data? Like, how do you put it into context? How do you see it through a social lens? So, yeah, I think that's a very important factor that you inputted there. Thank you. Jess, how about you? Do you see other additional factors, other additional tools or categories that build trust?
Yeah, so I think like everything that's being said, and then obviously from that, sharing your data, sharing what you're doing, and sharing what you're not doing, and within that, really, hopefully, you can show consistency in what you're doing, and consistent improvement and continuous improvement in what you're doing. I think like that is really, really important, because there's so many brands, there's not any brand left that is saying that they're not sustainable, or so it is really about being able to share how you are sustainable and how you're not sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely.
One important point is also sharing your flaws. I guess the flaws are very. Oh, sorry, did I? Sharing your flaws too. So what Jess says is right. So I guess one of the most transparent things I saw in brands is when they shared their mistakes, and that was really, really fascinating to see. Okay, they screwed it up, and they keep on going. So I think that is really, really important to stand by your points, your views, and to just go the path and not just to speak about data, because that's what makes somebody trust you really.
Yeah, exactly. And I think level, like there's so much. There's so much around. Sorry, there's just so much around. Sustainability is such a complex topic, and not least within fashion. I think there's climate impact, there's environment, which are very often mistaken for being the same thing, and within environment there's obviously water, and then finally there's social responsibility, right? And in essence, it is three different things. Ideally, you should do well on all three matters, but we only, for instance, a 35 people startup, at least in headquarters, and we cannot do great on each single one of them. And I don't think any 35-person team can do that. So it's about communicating which part of the sustainability agenda are you great at, and which ones are you still about to improve on.
Right. And I think what you said, that's also a new culture, right? That's admitting to mistakes or to incompletion. And it's great to see examples of companies also living that new culture. Larissa, you also had another point to add.
Yeah, I mean, the accountability. So one of the things that we do is work with companies to improve, to build this accountability, which demonstrates the organization commitment in regards to sustainability and the sustainability agenda. And I feel that it's the major pillar when we speak of establishing trust. Really, like, how do I show this, society or my customer, what am I doing? And sometimes companies are doing quite some things, but they just do not communicate as much. I'm not saying that, companies are doing great, all of them, no, but it's important to show your environmental policy, your code of conduct, which certification are you working on, because it just also raised the level of the conversation within the industry that we are still building. It's still very young, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to take a moment to let our audience know that if you have questions or comments to the panel, please feel free to post them in our chat. If you're watching the live stream on Vimeo, there's a chat next to the stream window, and you can feel free to bring in your questions and comments to the conversation. I want to dig a bit deeper in each of your work areas and see how the factors that you introduced apply there. So, Jess, maybe we can begin with you and the 3D knitted T-shirts and printers that Son of a Tailor produces, with this very clear idea of having a zero waste policy, and also a very clear sort of brand communication strategy when it comes to zero waste. So I was so wondering how factors like having zero inventory waste, it was kind of cool to see from a lay person's point of view, how that would be a marketing factor today for a fashion brand. Maybe you can explain a little bit how you thought this through and how this is working for you as a company.
Yeah, so I think first of all it's in our DNA, and I think that's the first one, right? We have always been around to remove waste in our supply chain, and we have adopted the lean methodology to do that, which is a methodology that's been around for many years. And we could see when we did our primary product, the t-shirts, that yes, we didn't have any inventory because we are made to order brand, so we only produce what we sell. But still, we had waste. We had cut-off waste. And that is still bad in our mentality. So how do we remove this cut-off waste out of the equation? That's by not cutting and by knitting directly in shape. So we set forth this research product. How can this be done? We found in the beginning that we could not do it for t-shirts, but we could do it at least for sweaters and pullovers. So we were the first company to try to link up to knitting machine, 3D knitting machines, and then doing those made to order and made to measure at the same time. So that was really, within our DNA and what drove that project, and also the communication around it.
I personally really love it when something is clearly innovative in its simplicity. You know, it's like very easy to understand how this is sort of showing the way how things could be in terms of production. Do you see this as what are other tools that you use to build trust, and who is it important for you to build trust with? Your customers, I expect, but perhaps also your value chain, your suppliers. So what are the kind of different tools that you're using as a company for that?
So definitely our customers and communicating that through our channels, so email, social media, and what we have. And also when they receive the package, it's also with ourselves. I think and what we want to do for the future of fashion and the future world. And so I think those are the two things. And then on the worker side, we are looking to also remove waste from human waste, and one of the ways that we're doing that is, especially when we sew our t-shirts, so they're still being sewn. The seamstresses, they're working on one t-shirt at a time, instead of in mass production where they'll do one hemline all day long. They'll do hemlines. They'll probably do hemlines all week at times. And that is just waste of human capacity. And I don't get it. I don't see it's much faster to produce in that way, and it's definitely not good for those involved. So I think it's very much in our actions and how we kind of integrate backwards.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that really kind of holistic vision that you're following. I'd like to learn also from you, Ali, how you are building trust as an NGO, and whether are different strategies that you employ with different stakeholders. I'm guessing there's different groups that you need to build trust with, like funders, like the people that you might be advising. So maybe you can share a little bit how you're doing that drip by drip.
Sure. So for us, it was quite challenging because when we started, it was really from scratch, and was not like this is our customer, we need to address that. We have, as you said, many partners and many different stakeholders. So we have industrial partners that we had to work with because we developed new fabrics, or we wanted to develop new fabrics, water saving fabrics. And we had to convince them to work with us. We were like, who are you? They asked us literally in the beginning who we are and what we are going to do. And we pitched our idea. So that was there was no NGO at that time, 4 years ago, that I knew that was tackling this water issue. So how we are going to address the industrial partners was different from